So we'll begin this session by inviting Shri Vikas Swarup, Additional Secretary XP and spokesperson MEA, to give a presentation on the subject of this plenary session.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this plenary session on leveraging social media for Diaspora Connect. It's a pleasure for me to welcome our Honorable Minister of State for External Affairs, Shri M.J. Akbar, and all the distinguished panelists who participated in the panel discussion held earlier last year. It was the 9th panel discussion, which was held on the 25th of October, with 14 experts in the field of social media, almost all of whom are with us here today. We had, of course, both our MOSs at that time, retired General Dr. V.K. Singh, Shri M.J. Akbar, and Secretary OIA and CPV, Shri Dhyaneshwar Mule. So let me first begin by telling you where do we stand in the world of social media. Those of you who follow me on Twitter at my account MEA India would see that on Twitter I have 1.13 million followers and we have issued more than 13,000 tweets. We also have a parallel account, a sister account called Indian Diplomacy, and that has 1.8 million followers and over 16,000 tweets. On Facebook, we have now a combined account of Indian Diplomacy and MEA India, and that has 2 million plus likes. Whereas on two of our dedicated YouTube channels, we have over 15 million minutes of content watched. Today, as I said, we are on YouTube. We have 2 channels on YouTube. We are on Facebook. We are on SoundCloud. We are on Google+. We are on Flickr. We are on Instagram. And most importantly, we are in your pocket through the MEA mobile app. The collective followership of all our social media accounts goes over 4.5 million, which translates into 21 million Twitter impressions and a reach of 25 million on Facebook every month. All this has resulted in the Ministry of External Affairs being ranked as the top foreign ministry in all countries of Asia, Latin America, and Africa, and the 7th overall in the world. As you have seen, we are number 7 after countries like the UK, France, United States, Russia, EU, which have huge budgets. We have a very modest budget, but I think we get big bang for every buck that we spend on social media. We have now expanded our digital footprint to the extent that every mission and post of India, and we have 183 missions and posts abroad, are now on Facebook. We have all our missions, barring a handful, I think only 3 or 4, on Twitter. All our regional passport offices are on Twitter and use it effectively to address queries and grievances. And most importantly, we have created standardized profiles. You know, it's like a Walmart or a Tesco. When you go, you know where the shelves are arranged because every Tesco and Walmart has the similar design. So that's what we have done for MEA social media accounts all over the world. If you see, there'll be a standardized template, same color scheme has been used, but we do provide for individualized content because every country is unique, every country has unique relations. The diaspora concerns are unique to every country. So within that overall profile, we allow our missions and posts to experiment with local content, and we encourage them to put as much local content as possible. Most importantly, we have used social media as a tool for raising awareness and for grievance redressal. Madad is a prime example. It's a platform which was started in February 2015. It originally started really as a platform for helping Indians abroad in the collection of mortal remains. You know, when somebody dies abroad, there's a lot of formalities to be completed before the body can be brought back to India. So Madad really started off as a consular grievance redressal platform for the transportation of mortal remains. But now it has expanded. Basically, you can, if you have a passport-related query, you have a labor dispute-related query, anything, you can log on to Madad, you can lodge a query there, and that query will be addressed. Till now, I believe more than 16,000 queries have been received, and most of them have been addressed. We have also used Madad to create an NRI student database because, you know, Indian students abroad, many of them do not bother to register with the Indian Embassy. And then once there is a problem, the university has shut down, or there is some kind of a dispute or whatever, then only they approach us. And more importantly, in times of an emergency situation, we have no way of reaching out to the student community. So we have now used Madad also to launch an NRI student database so that every Indian student outside India is now available to us in terms of their contact details, and when we can reach out to them in times of need. eMigrate is another digital media platform that we have created. It's a portal that facilitates safe and legal migration of Indians going abroad. And in some of the earlier panel discussions that were held, particularly related to problems faced by Indian workers in the Gulf, you would have seen how eMigrate could become a very effective portal for ensuring legal, orderly, and safe migration. But the biggest example, I think, for us in terms of use of social media is for emergency relief. The moment you have a bomb blast in Nice, or a terror attack in Germany, or attack in Bangkok, our missions there immediately put out the helpline numbers. We immediately tweet those helpline numbers so that immediately any Indian anywhere in the world has access to that one number which can tell him or her about the safety and security of their loved ones. And External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj, of course, has made emergency relief, helping distressed Indians abroad through social media her calling card. Every day, in fact, every 5 minutes, you would see a tweet from her helping some Indian or the other and in distant corners of the world. So what were the questions that we asked when we did this panel discussion on the 25th of October last year? The first question was, what campaigns and strategies would be useful to engage the youth? The second was, how can diaspora and missions come together through social media to fully utilize the commercial and business opportunities available in other countries? How can social media platforms facilitate online contributions by the Indian diaspora to social and development projects offered through the IDF-OI, about which also you have already had a panel discussion? Some of the discussion points were really about staying ahead of the curve. How can social media experts and entrepreneurs advise our missions to adopt international best practices? And that was where our 14 experts came into play, because all of them are experts at the use of social media. Some of them have been pioneers in the use of social media. So we thought this is a combined brain power available to us to advise us on how best we can stay ahead of the curve. What are the new technologies coming up that we need to adapt to, that we need to learn to? What are the existing technologies that we have still not interfaced with, and how we can use all of those to further our engagement with the diaspora? Also, as I said, what are the latest tools and technologies such as WhatsApp that can be employed by ministry and missions to connect to the diaspora? Would the use of greater webcasts and video conferencing help in this context? The third set of discussion points was about fostering a sense of identity and building civilizational linkages. For instance, how can social media be used to foster a greater sense of belonging to India amongst the diaspora? India has a unique civilizational heritage and a vibrant contemporary cultural mosaic. How can we link digital technologies and the objective of our cultural diplomacy with our diaspora? So after a great deal of deliberation, everybody spoke, a lot of discussion points came up. They were then crystallized into a series of recommendations and action points for greater synergy between the diaspora and the ministry, as well as our missions and posts abroad. I will now talk you through those. So the first recommendation that emerged was that we need to have a larger presence on social media. In the sense, there was broad appreciation for what MEA has done, and as you know, the Ministry of External Affairs was the first ministry in the government of India to adapt to social media. But what more now? What more can we do? So one suggestion that came was that we should use LinkedIn as a platform for communicating professional achievements of India and as a tool to attract talent back to the country. Also, we were told to utilize WhatsApp and Snapchat to connect to the youth. So let me tell you that as far as LinkedIn is concerned, we have already decided to open a LinkedIn account for the Ministry of External Affairs. You know, all of us, individual diplomats may have LinkedIn accounts, but a corporate account for the Ministry of External Affairs is in the process of being opened, and you'll see that very shortly. WhatsApp, we are already using. We in the ministry, I as the official spokesman of the government of the Ministry of External Affairs, use it to create a WhatsApp group of all Indian and foreign media. And any breaking news that I need to put out, I immediately put out on the WhatsApp group. And many of our missions have also created closed WhatsApp group. Once again, they can be very, very useful in times of distress. The second recommendation was that we should give the diaspora a chance to contribute in areas of their interest by making the IDF-OI broader in scope. As you know, IDFOI really started as a platform to enable NRIs and PIOs to contribute to some of the key flagship initiatives of the government of India. But the idea now is to broad base it and make it even more open and allow more platforms to come in. The second issue was that we didn't want to follow a top-down approach. We want to follow a bottoms-up approach in the sense the diaspora should be able to tell us which are the platforms, which are the schemes that need to be brought within the ambit of IDFOI so that we can create then a much larger platform whereby the concerns of the diaspora and their needs to contribute to India can be reflected in ample scope. The third was use the OCI registration. When you register for the Overseas Citizenship of India card, then you provide a lot of data about yourself. So how can we use that data about the native places, villages, etc., and help these areas through the IDFOI and other platforms, keeping in mind, of course, the imperative of privacy of data also. The next set of recommendations was about the Diaspora Culture Connect with India. So the suggestion was to institutionalize the Know India program and the Bharat Ko Jano quiz and tie it to consulting and internship opportunities provided by the MEA. Here also, you heard the Prime Minister yesterday saying that the Bharat Ko Jano quiz, which started off with 5,000 people applying for it, should now be expanded to 50,000 and more. And we hope to see that scale up this year. Also, that we should partner with other ministries to live stream events of cultural importance in India, thus enabling different groups of the diaspora to connect with India. Now, let me tell you, each and every session that you are seeing happening here has been live streamed on YouTube as well as on Facebook Live. So, which means not just the 8,000 people who have come for the Pravasi Bharatiya Divas 2017, but the 31 million Indians and PIOs living abroad can now directly interface with us. They can see what's happening, and they can also, sitting in Suriname or Guyana, they can also participate and see what is happening here in Pravasi Bharatiya Divas in Bengaluru. Then the next set of recommendations was about Madad. So we were told to conduct demographic and psychographic analysis of followers and create groups on WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger at local levels for communication. Now this is a recommendation that we are going to adopt. We are going to, once this is formally adopted at the PBD 2017, we are going to send this to our missions because eventually this has to be disaggregated at the local level and they can then conduct this sub-level analysis. Also, a suggestion was that periodic newsletters should be issued by our missions to document their activities and can be started with students' outreach departments of colleges and universities. Well, we have some issues here in the sense that some of our missions are just an ambassador and an attaché, and they just don't have, the institutional capacity to come up with the periodic newsletter. But many of our larger missions are, in fact, doing this where it is permitted under local regulations. For grievance redressal mechanisms, we were told to approach diaspora for solutions instead of just inquiring about their problems. And I think this is a very important recommendation. We see you not as part of the problem, but as part of the solution. So this is a forum for you to come up with creative ideas and solutions on how best we can broad base our efforts. Another suggestion that came was that we should target the 65+ age group who are getting to know social media, in the sense that we were told that they could become your best cultural brand ambassadors. They have time on their hands. They are now engaging with social media tools. And if we can enlist their support, then they can really help to amplify our message, put it across to a much larger constituency. Also, through e-learning modules, teachers from India could virtually teach Indian languages to the diaspora children. This was something which came up in the discussions that were held yesterday also. Many people felt that, the youngsters growing up abroad are losing touch with their roots, and many of them are fretting, the parents are fretting about their children not learning Kannada or Tamil or Malayalam or Uriya. So how we can use, again, social media tools, digital tools, through e-learning modules. Teachers from India can, provide a virtual classroom for, youngsters abroad to keep in touch with their language. And how we can post curated videos and documentaries on mission pages, social media online, and virtual museum tours of national museums, UNESCO World Heritage Sites in India, places of interest. This is something we'll need to take up with the Ministry of Tourism. But let me tell you, we have already tied up with the GCI, the Google Cultural Institute. They have a repository of, virtual tours of, all the top touristic sites and museums of India. And we are going to provide this service through our missions. So for instance, where you come for your visas, the visa outsourcing center, we could have a kiosk there with the GCI embedded so that, people, as they are waiting for their visa, can just browse through some places of tourist or cultural interest in India and get to know more about their motherland. Also, how we can use social media platforms to facilitate online contributions to social and development projects. The idea is to create customized apps that can easily be integrated with payment gateways, linking directly with a particular project. And also, this could be then, further expanded to include surveys and polls, etc. The idea is, currently IDFOI only tells you the channels through which you can contribute, but it does not have a payment gateway embedded in it. So the idea is that, you click on that page and straight away you can make payment also. So that is something we'll take up with the Overseas Indian Affairs Division. And how government should consider collaboration with Indian international schools overseas by providing them qualified teachers from India on special assignments. This is again something for the Ministry of Human Resources Development. So that was really the sum total of all the recommendations that were made, and I hope now through the discussion that we are going to have now, we can take these recommendations forward so that they can then form the overall body under which we are going to engage and scale up our interaction on social media with the diaspora community. Thank you very much. We have a number of questions which have already been received. I see that some of the questions do not really pertain to this particular panel discussion. So let me take those which are directly relevant to us, and then if we have time, then we can look at the others. One question is from Mr. Subramaniam Mohan from Qatar. He says, the question is about information overload. How do you select? I think the point he's trying to make is that there is so much of information available now in the digital space that there could be an issue of information overload also. Look, I think I'll get MOS to answer that, but look at External Affairs Minister. Look at the number of issues that she gets tweeted about every day, and yet she's able to make a selection from that and decide which are the ones she needs to respond to. But sir, you may like to add to information overload. Yeah, eventually I agree. It's a judgment call that you have to make. I think this is one of the pitfalls of the digital age, that you type something on Google, you have 1 million plus hits. And then you have to decide, what is fake news, what is real news, what is of interest to you.
So far, technology has not obliterated judgment.
Yes, exactly, sir. Then we have a question from Mr. M. Harwani. He is Director, India Vision TV from Denmark. He says, all these social media platforms are American. Why can't India has its own social media platform? I think I'll get Arvind to respond to this. Arvind Gupta, head of the IT cell.
So, I think the gentleman who asked the question, there is a platform that that is being extensively used within India. We are using it within India. It's called MyGov, and a lot of interactions, communities, and engagement is already happening there. But I think your question is very valid, and that relates to the bigger overall thing of what we want to do as a country, as a digital country, and whether we can be overall in the future dependent only on Facebook, Twitter to create and manage all these big projects and conversations. See, so far the view has been that these are very now most pervasive platforms, whether it's WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. They have so much of reach that we have to make sure that we use them for all public discussions and public information. So as far as though confidential information is being shared on them, I think these platforms have the reach, everybody uses them. Whenever we've done any poll or any survey of anybody who does not use WhatsApp, and if we do that in this room, everybody, if I ask anybody who does not use WhatsApp, the number will be very, very little, for example. So I think those platforms are public platforms. They are they have a great reach. But I think point taken, India should aim and have an ambition to create its own platform. a platform from the government called MyGov is already there for all discussions, inputs, policy inputs and feedback. And that's being very, very actively used. I think the last count was about 4 million people are actively engaged on the MyGov platform in India. And one of the suggestions this panel, when they had done internal deliberations, was to see how this platform can be even leveraged by embassies overseas and missions overseas to get more ideas and more feedback. So,
Also, Arvind, if I may add, all these platforms may be American, but the people behind these platforms, I'm sure, are all Indians.
everybody who's managing it is, of course, our people.
But I would like to add on this one.
We have a question from G. Singh. He says, One India web location for standardized quality and updated presence. Stop the current clutter. Link all websites and digital assets. Well, Mr. G. Singh, obviously you have not been following me on Twitter because we have already done that. We have created an app through Facebook. If you go through to our MES Facebook page, you will see a map of the world, and now it's a one-stop shop. You click on any country in the world, and all the social media accounts of the Indian embassy, the Indian consulate there will come up. So it's a one page where you can get all the social media accounts of all 183 Indian missions and posts abroad.
Sir, hello, I'm Jay Singh. I concede the fact that I was in NRI 2 years ago, so I'm slightly outdated. Congratulations and thanks for the one-stop location. I was talking about the websites. Most of our websites of embassies and stations are individually governed, as I understand from that time, 2014. If you could have a model like the Passport Seva portal, which is one portal controlled and managed by the Ministry of External Affairs at one point, and local inputs could be embedded into it. So it'll make it more relevant, standardized look and feel, easier for visitors as well. And when you search for an embassy, it'll throw up our page up front, right at the top. Right now it does not. So end up having lots of fake web pages.
Your point is well taken. This is something we have been in discussions with NIC to see whether everybody can be migrated to the NIC portal and centrally managed from here. Yeah. Of course, we cannot completely centrally manage all 183 missions and posts because we have to give space to individual content. There has to be, training modules will have to be instituted so that people can then, log in from their remote locations into the central server. This is something we are working on with NIC.
Can I take a second? The map that you mentioned could be a good starting point. Then the website as well as the Twitter feed.
We have to give space to others also.
Thank you so much.
We have a question from Hemant Varudkar. He is CEO of Express Analytics from USA. He says use social media to engage doctors and engineers to provide expertise and telemedicine to villages in India. How can we help in GST analytics through cloud? We have a cloud solution. Any one of our panelists want to answer this? Yeah, it's already on.
There is a solution developed by the University of New Mexico called Project ECHO. If it gets scaled up, I think there is some implementation for telemedicine happening. I will certainly carry forward that larger scale, probably chat with them privately.
Okay, Mihir Meghani is a board member of the Hindu American Foundation from USA, says, I recommend an alert system notifying the diaspora community about an issue needing diasporic action. This is something, as I said, we are already working on. All our embassies and posts are advised to open WhatsApp groups, linking all the members of the diaspora, if not all the members, at least all the community organizations, so that the moment you have something to communicate or an emergency measure to be instituted, then everybody immediately gets informed through WhatsApp. I think WhatsApp would be the quickest and the fastest way because everybody does not click on the website every 5 minutes. But WhatsApp is something that comes to you instantly if you're on WhatsApp. We have a question from Tony Kamath. He's a real estate valuation expert from USA. How can we use social media to change negative perception of India to increase FDI?
Vikas, you are a right-wing person. There's a left-wing here.
I know, sir. No, I always look left as well. So in case for the left, yes. Anybody, how can we use social media to change negative perception of India to increase FDI? Anybody wants to? Rupa? Okay, Amit wants to come in first.
Look, there is a lot of good work that the Modi administration is doing, and a lot of information is available on several government channels, including ministries, Twitter accounts, including MEAs, and also the parties. There is the Prime Minister's personal app, and there is the EAM's account. If you just follow 4 or 5 of them, you will get so much of information about the work that is happening, and then building narrative is an ongoing process. You write blogs, you write posts, you publish, you look at documentaries, you share them around. And the social media really enables you to do that very effectively. It allows you to share content that is written. I mean, I know Mr. Akbar writes articles on government and its achievements. If those are circulated within the community, within the diaspora, I'm sure there will be a great deal of positivity that will come around. And lastly, there are a lot of these agencies, these financial services firms that constantly keep putting out India reports. If you refer to them, I haven't seen one in the last 2.5 years that's not been bullish on India. So there is a lot of positive content. Just get to it, share it around, use social media effectively, and you will see that the FDI, which is already at the highest peak ever that India has seen, and globally, will further keep going up. Thank you.
Rupa, you want to add to that?
How do you counter negative perceptions of India out there? Stop reading mainstream Indian news is my first piece of advice. And also follow me on Twitter. That would be the second thing, because I debunk a lot of this stuff. But on a serious note, there is a lot of information overload, as someone just pointed out. There is this perception of India, especially post-demonetization, that investments are going to take a hit, and that sort of thing. And it's challenging for the layperson to sift through all of this and figure out what exactly is going on. And there are a lot of things that need to be done. For one thing, the government needs to be a little more clear in its messaging, and I think this is very important. There has to be a single sort of, this is where we are as far as investments are concerned. India is always open for business, and this needs to be aggressively pushed, in my opinion. And also, the Indian diaspora is on social media, and you should be able to sift through some of this clutter out there. I mean, some of the responsibility also lies with us. We also need to, be able to sift through the clutter out there and figure out if this information is really indeed genuine. And so that's crucial. But I think the government messaging has to be stepped up as far as investments are concerned, that India is indeed open for business, and that don't heed to the fear-mongering that one encounters in the mainstream space.
I think our ambassador to UAE, please.
It takes much more courage than I have to contradict Rupa, but I am going to try. In a democracy is about discourse. Whatever she says about certain elements of media may have validity, but our point is that we have to argue our case. And in order to argue our case, democracy is about persuasion. There are lots of people floating in the middle, and we must read and then form the counter-narrative, because we have facts on our side. We have logic on our side. We have common sense on our side. And we have achievement on our side. And with these assets, particularly with achievement, if we can't produce the counter-narrative, then the failure is ours. So please read everything, but most important, please answer everything.
Well taken, sir. Navdeep Suri, our ambassador to the UAE, and one of the pioneers in the use of social media within the MEA.
And thanks, Vikas. When I was still very new in my first couple of weeks in UAE, I interacted with a group of community leaders, about 25 in a room, and I asked, can you raise hands, how many of you who are Indian community leaders around the table follow the Indian Embassy's Twitter account or follow us on Facebook? There were 2 hands that came out of the 25. We are now starting an initiative that with every passport service that we do, because we do quite a lot, we will put in, please follow us on Facebook, please follow us on Twitter, etc. I think it begs the question, You can take the horse to the water, but can you really make it drink? And at the end of the day, and this is here, we're still talking about the elite, but I'm in a country where 2.3 million out of the 2.7 million are blue collar. And I think we will have to continue to use traditional approaches even as we reach out with social media. It's just that I don't see an option for those people who are working on projects in labor camps and so on. How do I get across to them with some of the new media? You've got to interact with them and then see the real limitations that you will inquire in a 21st century approach.
How many of you follow MEA India? Yeah, still quite few. Next PBD, I want all hands to go up. Okay, next question we have is from Mr. M. Harwani, Director, India Vision TV Denmark. He's already asked a question. Here's a second question. My Gov website is asking for state or local mobile number, and it is very difficult to log on or register from a foreign country. Amit or Arvind, you want to address that?
Sir, as I said, initially it was open for people who have a local number or a local mobile number. I think there are discussions on to see how it can be enabled for overseas people also. So,
Mr. Salman Afridi, he's an MBA student from Bangalore. He says, when you speak about the new app Madad for the NRI, what kind of support are you talking about? Vani? The Madad expert is here, who's Deepak. Deepak Mittal is not here. Look, we'll have to... Okay, okay. I think what I would request is if you can send me your email, we will have the reply sent to you. But basically, what I mentioned in my remarks was that we are using Madad to create an NRI student database. Now somebody is saying that why don't you tap students when they are at the immigration checkpost and before they are going abroad, why don't you create a database there? I think there may be some issues there on data privacy, etc. also. But the idea is once you are abroad, once you are fully embedded in your university, if through Madad we can create your database so that get you all on a common platform, and then we have a way of reaching you in case of emergency. Okay. So any other questions? Let me see if... Okay, so I think we have more or less covered all the questions. So I think with that, I would like to thank all my panelists. I would like to thank MOS Shri M.J. Akbar, who... as I said, we have a paucity of time. The next session has to begin. Minister also has to go.
Just 1 minute. Just take from your top people.
We are one tweet away. You can...
please just listen. With a British passport, you can go to New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, Canada, USA, get a job and settle down. My question is, what about British passport? What about Indian passport? This is my question to all the top Indians sitting there. When these things will change? With a British passport, you can move around the world, settle down anywhere, get a job. What about British passport? What about Indian passport? When this situation will change? This is my simple question.
Thank you very much. We are organizing a Pravasi Britain. Thank you. Just to thank you all very, very much for being here. This is really a kind of session which demands much more time than we were allotted. And I hope that this is going to be a permanent feature of our future Divasas. And therefore, Vani, please, or your successor, please allot more time for this. It is very interesting. It is very valuable. Technology is not the religion of our age, but technology is the catechism of our age. And the important thing about technology is that yesterday is being replaced today as we speak, and probably in this city, in some corner of the city. So technology is a process. What has happened in the last 2 years is that technology in our nation, for a variety of reasons, many of them psychological, because many of us, for some reason, believed that technology and the poor could not be merged. That technology was somehow a middle class or an elitist project, but could not be taken to the poor. This has changed dramatically because of the leadership that the Prime Minister has given to what might be called Project technology. And what he has done is that he has taken technology which was crawling and given it critical mass. It has hit critical mass. It has now reached nuclear pace because he's doing something absolutely unprecedented, which is taking technology right across to the length, breadth. When I talk the length, breadth, I don't mean geography, I mean demography. He's taking it there, and the seeds that are being planted, none of us have a real true concept of the dimensions of this harvest. What precisely this harvest will be, we almost dare not imagine, but the one thing good about it is the harvest will be bountiful, it will be fruitful, and this harvest will take India into the leadership of the 21st century. Finally, I'm not indulging in hyperbole, believe me. I'm telling you things as will happen before our eyes. And finally, I would be not only remiss, no, just one more point because it was raised. Look, I think one responsibility comes with so much power. Technology is power. Technology must be used, it must not be abused. If you abuse technology, you destroy the very vehicle that can take us at a fast pace forward. Please remember that. Finally, I must use this opportunity to congratulate not only Vikas for his extraordinary leadership, but at this good point to say Jai Ho. But the whole MEA ministry under the leadership of Sushma ji has actually proven how technology can be put at the service of governance, and governance can be put at the service not of large masses but of the individual. And this triangle that has been established by the Ministry of External Affairs is absolutely unique, I think, from your experience of what is happening across the world. So has anybody given us an award or not?
Well, EM has been recognized all across the world as number one.
It really should deserve international and national recognition, but that is less important. The recognition of the world is less important to us than the fact that we recognize that the Indian is at, wherever the Indian might be, is at the heart of our endeavors, the heart of our objectives, and the very purpose for which we have gathered. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I just loved the Jai Ho bit. Finally, just a reminder to everyone in the audience that when you give your questions, and if the questions are taken up by the chair, please do stand up and identify yourself immediately so a microphone can be reached to you, because we don't know exactly where you are. So these final moments now to express our gratitude and appreciation.